TCT time! Yay! I'm your host Shizuka, and we've got Judy.
Hello.
Ian.
Hello.
And Kanako, who is our new-ish member on the panel. But anyway, right now is the beautiful season of Shinsotsu and new company workers.
That's what it is. Shinsotsu. Well, new graduates.
New graduates equals new employees.
Yeah.
Yes, because it's the cherry blossom season, which has kind of just come to an end right now. But yeah, this season is known for new beginnings in Japan. So it's the season where everyone starts their new school year, starts working in a new company. So because of that, I thought we could talk about getting a job in Japan. Ooh, how do we do it? How do we become employed? Was it a difficult process for you guys? How about,
I guess we all have very different experiences.
It's very different.
Yeah.
It's obviously very different. I think if you grew up in Japan, went to school here, then you would be doing something called shukatsu, which is job hunting.
If you're Japanese, it's very important that you get hired straight out of university, right?
Yes.
If you've taken like a gap year or time away, it looks bad for the companies hiring you, right? Which I don't know if that's the case in any other country. It might be, I'm not sure, but I don't like employers, I think in the UK don't, if anything, it's seen as a benefit if you've got some experience, like, or if you've taken the time to travel the world, maybe like a gap year is a very common thing. But in Japan, people place a huge emphasis on the wave of new graduates and having your job kind of sewed up while you're still at university almost, right? It's,
exactly. Right.
So did you do that? Kanako?
Yeah, me? He said it right.
Yeah, right.
I didn't practice it.
I just graduated steadily and then I just enter the company.
Straight away after
Straight away,
university?
yeah.
When did you start looking for a job?
We have to start have job hunting. It's like years ago. I mean, like
a year ago.
Yeah.
1 year before?
One year before.
Wow.
Third year of university.
Yeah, right.
Wow.
And then they started from March.
Yeah.
They doing like just this March to April. It just starting keeping like sending what is it?
Job application.
Resume.
Yeah.
And then if it's passed, we have to do I think it's the June, July.
Yeah.
We have to do the what is it?
Final interview?
Yeah, interview.
Okay.
Wow.
And then they give me the
Offer letter?
yeah, right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And then
So how long before you finished university did you know what company you were going to work for and all that?
I think half a year.
Wow. Okay.
Ooh, okay.
Before
Yeah.
they just decided which company.
Yeah.
And what was your first job? What industry did you go into?
It was I'm sales of the advertising, recruitment
wow.
advertising.
Oh,
Okay.
okay.
Yeah. And then
And how long did you stay in that company?
in I think 3 years, almost 3 years.
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
I just quit and then
Tokyo
joined
Creative. Oh
Yeah.
Nice. That's pretty good though. And this is also reflecting a little bit of a change in Japanese society because in the past there was a really strong emphasis on you pick one company and you stay there forever until you retire. It was
Give
one
your life.
company for life.
Yeah.
Yeah, you basically dedicate your life to that company.
Yeah. Because the years that you work in the company equates to your promotion, right? Essentially. So
Because it's a
More-
seniority-based
Right.
promotion.
More than like what you've achieved, it's more on the
Right.
time, the
Right.
value. That's what's valued more at the
Exactly.
time. than
Yeah.
Wow.
yeah.
Right.
So there's a lot of frustration with that too, I
Right.
think. Mm-hmm. But
So nowadays things are changing. There's still the older generation that does value that and they
Yeah.
still prefer people who are going to stay in the company for a long time. But nowadays, realistically, there's many options and more foreign
Absolutely.
or international companies where you can, they're much more flexible with hiring. So young people have options now. And Japanese companies have been forced to change their working style quite a lot as well.
I guess, so being a Japanese citizen and finding a job and being a non-Japanese citizen coming to Japan and finding a job, very, very different experiences.
Yes,
obviously,
right,
because
right.
that. I know previously Japan, I know it's loosened fairly recently actually, but it was always you could come out. So I came out on a working holiday visa initially, which is brilliant. Some countries have that kind of relationship with Japan. You can come out almost like a tourist visa, but you can stay for a year and you can work and you can kind of make connections and things like that.
And see if you like it.
Exactly. Yeah. But to actually get to extend that to get a working visa, you had to be able to offer kind of a skill or a service that a general Japanese person couldn't do, like that warranted you being, you know, the reason why they've hired you instead of someone else. So that's why I guess two main fields which were popular with foreigners, non-Japanese people coming to Japan, unless you came with a company, like maybe you work for a company in your country and you got transferred here. That's kind of a separate thing. But if you came out because you're passionate about Japan and you wanted to find work, I'd say the majority of people were kind of either employed, initially at least, in teaching English.
Yes.
Because being a native English speaker is a skill in high demand in Japan.
Yeah.
And being a recruiter, again, because you can recruit non-Japanese people speaking English. So I know a lot of my friends in Japan, non-Japanese people, are either English teachers or recruiters.
Yeah, very true.
But saying that, they've just touched on it more, I guess, in another video, but there's like new visas now for people in the like hospitality industry, because to kind of boost up Japan's workforce going forward. So it's not just kind of like English-speaking skills, it's a whole bigger wide range of skills which people in Japan are looking for now.
Very true. Yeah, they're really expanding the types of skills. There was also, I did a video about this a long time ago on the TC News, but also they need like shipbuilders, which I thought was really interesting. So there's a visa for people who build ships.
So if any of you out there,
if you are,
maybe we do have some shipbuilders watching.
I didn't feel like it's not something a lot of people like specialize in, but it's got to be out there somewhere. So I mean, they're expanding the type of skills that they need from foreign workers.
Another huge one is software engineers.
Hello.
Yeah. That's why you're here.
That's why. Yay.
But it's a lot, I think, easier for software engineers to get visas in Japan compared to other.
Yeah, you can get an engineering visa.
Right. Yeah, which is 5 years, right?
And no, it can be. It can still be 1, 3, or 5, depending, I think, on who's looking at your application, depending on how up to date you are on your tax payments and all these other things. But I've had 2 3-year visas and 2 1-year visas since I've been here, so it all kind of it seems there's no real rhyme or reason to it. It's just kind of how lucky you get.
I've heard that sometimes it does depend on who is processing.
That's kind of unfair, isn't it?
It is. Life isn't fair. Yeah. But back to like how you actually would go about finding a job in Japan. You were in the US for a little while, and then you came over here. How did you find your first job when you got here?
So I graduated university in June, so that's typical cycle of U.S. or other Western countries, right, for universities. And by that time, I was already too late into getting into the Shinsotsu programs. So Shinsotsu programs would be fresh grad programs. Yeah. So I was looking for options, and I contacted recruiters, because recruiters in Japan is still a huge thing compared to other countries, right? I would say. So there were huge help in terms of contacting different companies, finding new positions, because they're not necessarily online jobs in Japan. I would say, in the US or UK probably, it's a lot easier to find jobs on online platforms, right?
Yeah, a lot of companies in Japan use recruiters. They won't do the hiring process themselves, and also a lot of recruiters won't take you seriously until you're in Japan, right?
Yes, that was a huge thing actually, because I went through a lot of Skype interviews while I was abroad, and that didn't really lead me anywhere, and they're like, okay, your first interview is gonna be when you're actually in Japan. But I knew I really wanted to go to Japan or live here. So it was a no-brainer for me to come here anyway. So and being a Japanese citizen helps.
It makes it a lot easier, I think.
It's a lot easier, so it might be a different experience for a lot of people.
I think so, But it seems like going through a recruiting company, a recruiter, is like the way to go. And there's a lot of also websites now in Japan that like recruiting websites.
Yeah,
like
like
I can't remember some of the names.
Rikuto.
Rikuto. Yeah, just that
What's the one
itself.
with the little green character? It's like a little
Green
ball of
character.
fuzz.
Isn't that sumo?
sumo.
Is that anything to do with recruiting?
Sumo is houses,
Yeah.
right?
Okay, don't worry about
Yeah.
Same company.
that.
Really?
Ah, really? That's
They
I'm
do
getting
jobs
confused.
too.
Yeah,
Sumo
sumo
does.
and
okay.
recruit.
I
Recruit
see.
has sumo.
Oh,
Yeah.
no way. Okay.
Well, they were saying that I think if you wanted to teach English and come out to Japan, that would be something that you wouldn't necessarily need to go for a recruiting agency for.
No.
I would say to teaching what's really important to a lot of schools, because teaching English, that's a whole wide range. It can be like a little eikaiwa, like a little cram school kind of thing. It could be a university, super
Yes.
prestigious. It can be completely different. There's a whole range of different jobs within that. But I would say if you're interested in doing that, at least initially in Japan, the most important thing is just getting out here. Even if it's on a 90-day work visa, you just
Work holiday visa.
Yeah, if you're here for a
anything.
couple of weeks, if you went to a
Yeah.
few schools and introduced yourself,
Yeah.
that would be far better than anything you can do outside of Japan. I
Definitely,
think.
yeah.
Yeah.
And there is a decent, there's a decent population of foreign people who are here already, who will probably go and snatch up those jobs. There's no reason for an English school to hire someone specifically from abroad and bring them over here. That's kind of an unnecessary expense / hassle.
There are some programs that hire, I think, not exclusively, but they do the majority of their hiring. They go and put on like little expos in different things around the US and Europe. Shane School, I don't know if you know that one.
Yeah.
They hire most of their people. So they sign up to them in the UK. They have the interview in the UK in person because these companies actually pay for your plane ticket.
Wow.
So Shane's one.
That's cool.
Shane is a British English school.
The JET program. I think that's how Chris Broad came out initially.
Oh,
So he was
yes.
he was interviewed in the UK. So there are programs, not individual schools. There are programs you can join in States, in the UK, whatever, and that's another way to get out.
That's an excellent
The only
point.
thing is, though, you are pretty much tied to that.
Yeah.
You don't have that much freedom when you get here for at least, I think, 6 months or whatever the initial contract is. You can't really search for other things.
And that's a good idea from the side of the company as well. They don't want you to come here and just
find another job. Yeah, exactly.
Bye. Like they put in a lot of effort to have you
Yeah,
come here.
exactly.
So, but the JET program is a really good. I would say it's a really good way for people to first come to Japan and teach English. You can do the interviews in your home country, and they will locate you in different parts of Japan.
It's a cool thing. You don't really know where you're going to get put, do you?
That's
You
the
don't really have a
thing.
choice.
You never know.
You
No.
never you can put your preferences
But it's still a gamble.
Okay.
Yeah.
Generally, everyone wants to be in a bigger city like Tokyo or maybe Osaka. But everyone wants to go there, so there's a very low chance that you're going to be in Tokyo or Osaka. And a lot of the time, you end up in a really, really remote area. I've known some people who went to Okinawa, which is kind of cool,
Oh.
but on remote islands.
Wow.
Where there's really nothing there. Like there's just a school there, and you have to take a ferry to go to the mainland,
Wow.
and you're just isolated. And as
That's
the
so crazy,
right,
actually.
and being the only foreign person in that island, I've heard it's quite a struggle because their Japanese level wasn't quite that yet, and
Food is different.
yes, like it's really
Everything.
it does sound pretty tough. Like
Yeah.
for the most part, you're stuck on that island. So I mean, be aware of that. But it could be a memorable and amazing experience too.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it could be your first step into coming to live in Japan. So
Yeah.
you teach here for a while, and then maybe you can find your next opportunity through recruiting companies.
Yeah.
Things like that.
Also, I find networking to be quite important too in finding
Yeah.
a job, right?
Mm-hmm.
I guess that's kind of how you found a job.
I happen to know the cameraman at Tokyo Creative, and it kind of went for that. But yeah, so absolutely.
Oh.
But there's loads of if you're interested in the more kind of, I guess the arts, the kind of niche or
industry,
social
yeah.
media or kind of thing, there's a huge community in Japan, both Japanese and non-Japanese members, and you can look on places like meetup.com or things like that, but there's all of these networking events and you meet some really interesting people there. Like I say, even if you're not living here at that point, all you need, I can't emphasize that enough, Japan is really a networking society. And so when you meet someone for the first time, it's always the business card exchange kind of thing. You should always kind of have some business cards on you all the time. And another reason why being out here is the best thing you can possibly do.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Do you feel like it's easy to get a job in Japan through connections?
Yeah, I think it's I think difficult to get in the jinji. How do you say jinji?
HR.
Yeah.
Human
right.
resources. Yeah.
I think it's hard to get in the HR. So I don't know how.
I think maybe it only works through smaller companies.
Yeah,
You're right.
Definitely big corporations, they would go through a strict process. Very bureaucratic process. But
there's multiple levels of interviews.
Right. But then I guess, there's a lot of startups now in Japan. And those kind of small companies, middle-sized.
My previous company did as well. There was a lot of networking events where it was kind of you didn't really have a choice where or not you go. It's integral that you go because the company's not gonna grow if you don't meet those people. And I think actually recently we've been working on TC Learn, like our platform. We're kind of trying to somewhat recreate that kind of in the forum. Getting experience from people who are both looking to come to Japan and people who are already here, like myself, and kind of creating these kind of chats where there might be someone who's really interested in photography. So, well, actually, if you come to this event on this, and to complement that, we are trying to do a lot more of our own offline events to help people who want to learn how those of us who are working out here full time got out here, and also people got some really, really interesting case studies, like a lot of the influencers who work with TC Learn. They got really, each one of them, the way they came out here initially is completely different.
Yeah,
So,
that's true.
Yeah, the offline events we put together kind of help people who have maybe either visiting Japan, have kind of just moved out here, still not entirely sure, or maybe, like I said, there's nothing wrong with teaching English. Some people it's their passion, but for a lot of people it's not their passion, but it's what they had to do to get out here initially.
The little gateway.
So I can't recommend enough kind of going to these little kind of events and things like that, meeting people who are doing the type of work you want to do. And like I said, I work for Tokyo Creative because I happen to know someone else who worked here, and it kind of went through that way. So
So if you're going into a big company, that's not really the way to go, of course, but if it's startups and things like that, basically meeting people is probably the best way to go. And speaking of those offline events, I think one guy who was on our panel the other day, I think we talked about it. Kelvin, he said that he first came to the offline event and then talked to some people, and then lo and behold, he's here at TC and he joined our TC Talk video too.
He came
up.
Well, actually, I remember he was. I've got to know Kelvin quite well actually, and he was at the offline event. And I was it was like towards the end of the event, and I was like kind of shuffling people out, and I felt bad because my first conversation with him was like, "Can you please leave?" And I've got to know him quite well after that. And like I said, he introduced himself to us, and he's doing some like voiceover work, and really nice. Meet all kinds of people.
Yeah. So the main thing is you never know. Like connections can happen anywhere.
Yeah. Relationships are very important.
Yes.
Anywhere you go.
So get business cards printed. That's one thing.
Yes.
You can get them anywhere. I mean, there's so many services that do like a quick turnaround for them, and
they do some very cheap printing services in Japan too, which are very nice. And I just realized there's a word in Japan. They always say kone in Japanese. Connection no kone. I don't know if that's like a negative. Is that a negative?
That's money. What's it?
They say, I know, but
What's
they
that
always
one?
People do that to me. They're like, "Zenbu kone."
Really?
Yeah. I don't know why. I've seen people do that.
I've seen this one,
think
but I don't really.
this is money though.
This is a little
This is
different
like-
too, though.
what's
This
that?
is sucking up to people.
Oh,
It's
okay.
gomasuri. It means to grind sesame seeds.
Yeah.
Okay.
Literal translation.
Yes. What it means is
We're all
to.
just grinding sesame
It's
seeds.
to grinding.
Please let me give
Please, I'm just
that
grinding
job.
sesame seeds. But it means to suck up to someone, like to get something in return. So it's a little different, but I've seen people say like connections. And
Yeah.
kone.
Kone.
I don't know. This is the symbol for money.
I think it's money.
Yeah.
It is money, but I've seen
Kone.
some people do that.
But people do say kone.
Yeah.
Yeah, right?
They do. So it's definitely a phrase that's used in Japan. And they usually use it in a very like quiet way. Like, yeah, it's all connections. Like it's not, they didn't go through it in the, you know, public, typical standard way of getting a job. But sometimes
I guess the
connections.
reality is that it's like that everywhere, right?
Yeah.
Connections do matter. So
Of course.
you can't take it for granted, or you know, you should make an effort to make those connections as well, and it'll never hurt you, I think.
Definitely.
So yeah, it's not just Japan, but yeah, there's no right or wrong way to find a job here, I think.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And I guess my start in working in Japan too, I came here as a student. So I was just studying at university here. I have Japanese citizenship, so that leaves things very open. But I guess the first job that I ever did was working at an English school. It was kind of an English cafe, actually. So it was more just chatting.
I think I heard about this.
Do you know about
Yeah.
it? English cafes are a popular thing in Japan, where basically Japanese people will go to the cafe and chat with a foreign person in English as a way to practice their English.
Do I have to pay for it?
Yeah, so it's like it's a very cheap service. Like I think you'd pay like 1,000 yen for an hour to just talk really casually about anything. So it's not a lesson. You're not studying anything. You're just practicing.
Make friends.
Yeah, you can make friends, and it's really nice to have a place to practice your language.
Right.
So that was one option. That was my first job actually in Japan, and I got that through a friend's recommendation at school. So another friend at school was working here, started working there, and then that led to more English teaching type opportunities.
You see people that maybe they have their main job, which teaching English. They have their main job at a school or something like that. But to kind of supplement that, you often see like one-to-one cafe lessons, right?
Yes.
Or one-to-one. And there's a number of websites where you can register as a teacher, and Japanese people can register as students, and it's quite a common thing. Once you've got the visa to, like, it doesn't. That's another thing. Your visa in Japan doesn't tie you specifically to that one company. You can, as long as it's in the same kind of industry, you can do extra things as well. So a lot of people kind of, you know, for one-to-one kind of lessons, it can often be quite.
Yeah, it's
money,
very
right?
nice. Yeah, because you can, it's private, so you can set the wage or the fee for the lesson.
Yeah.
So these websites, I used one ages ago. I don't know if it's still around.
FindStudents.net.
Yeah, exactly.
That was a big one.
Yeah, FindStudents.net. It was actually, and the
that's a
website
big
was
one. It might
the
be
website was a little sketchy looking.
I don't know if they changed it, but it looked like it was made in like 1990.
It was a very old looking website.
But it works,
FindStudents.net.
But it's great though, because the kind of people that sign up to those are people, because if you're stuck at a school, well, not stuck at a school, but if you're at a school and you didn't really, like I said, it's not a university, it's not a high school, it's kind of an eikai, where they call it. You can range from teaching 3-year-old kids to retirees. It can be, it's kind of, I worked one briefly, and it was kind of, your next student could be so far removed from your previous one.
Yes.
Where I find that the people who are doing it, that you meet on these kind of websites, they're very much driven. They're kind of doing it, you know, they want to, they're taking the emphasis. They're not doing it because their work has told them to do it. They're not doing it because their mum's forcing them into doing it. They're doing it because they want to learn English. And then normally you meet some really nice people out there. I'm still friends with several of the people I met when I did it originally. So,
I'm still friends with one student that I taught like 9 years ago. And we'll still occasionally have a little lesson.
From FindStudents.net.
Yes, I did find her on FindStudents.net. We're still friends today, so that's quite amazing. You can make friends on that website. And I'm still, I also actually, most of the people on that website are adults, like people who are interested in practicing English. But also I had one mom who was looking for a teacher for her kids. And I started teaching those kids when I was 18, I think, when I first came here, and I still occasionally teach them. Like they were little kids, now they're in high school. Isn't that crazy?
That is crazy.
But it's really amazing that, you know, that relationship could exist. But yeah, in general in Japan, there's multiple paths to finding your work in Japan. A lot of people find that it's easiest to enter through the English teaching route.
Or recruiting, if that's not really your thing.
Or recruiting, it doesn't have to be the way that you get a job.
Right.
And of course, this isn't, I don't know how popular it is for Japanese people, but like websites like LinkedIn. Yeah, so there's definitely some options. Look for recruiting sites, go to recruiting company, go to English schools. JET program.
I think we cover a lot of this on TC Learn as well, right?
Yes.
Exactly.
In more detail.
In more detail.
So like
through
step
different
by step.
industries.
Yeah, I think Chris and Charlotte both made videos on their kind of experiences with visas and working in Japan. So yeah, check those out.
But anyway, I hope that this gave you a little bit of insight into what it's like working in Japan and how you would get started working in Japan. And if you guys have any other questions, don't forget to let us know in the comments and we'll try and pick those up for another video. So thank you guys so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Great discussion today. See you guys in the next video. Bye.